Oh, today we're making a Cleveland Browns video. So, the Cleveland Browns past 2 seasons have been a horrific embarrassment. 1-15 last year, 0-16 this year, and you decided to keep the entire coaching staff. They're 1-35. I know a lot of Bucs fans have complained about keeping Dirk, but Jesus, imagine being a Browns fan right now and your head coach is 1-35 and you still don't fire him. That's awful. You had the whole Dwayne Bowe situation. Jabril Peppers hasn't really worked out that well. You had the whole failed A.J. McCarron trade situation, which, Jesus. And this has been proving to be a horrifically embarrassing year, worse than last year, for the Cleveland Browns. So, what are they going to do? Because, like, on paper, they're not that bad. Like, if I told you that, would you believe me? Probably not. But let's look at it and see. Because they're actually not that bad, and I'm also going to address what they probably need to do for this offseason. So, looking at first the coaching staff in the front office, they decided to keep a decent majority of their coaching staff. They obviously kept their head coach, which I wouldn't have done that, dude. If a guy went 1-35, I would have gotten rid of him immediately. But whatever, they like him. However, they did get rid of their, like, I guess you can call it a general manager and their, like, front office. Now, I don't really agree with that one because I thought that they were actually doing a pretty good job for themselves. But point is that they did get rid of him. They brought in some pretty high tier executives, to be honest. They brought in some high tier guys from mainly Green Bay. But the point is that, like, you know, Cleveland, their front office ain't looking that bad. You know, they brought in some guys who know how to, they know how to get some players. So, really, I don't know about that coaching staff, but at least the front office is looking good. So on paper, the front office is looking insanely better. You know, a lot of people were even putting it up with teams like the Seahawks and like Cowboys and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, game on, Cleveland. You know, let's see what you can do this offseason. And speaking of what they're going to be doing this offseason, they have some moves that they got to make. But on paper, their team actually isn't that terrible. Now, after we get past the coaching staff, obviously, we get to the players. Now, the quarterback situation is a very tricky one. You have Deshaun Kaiser, who was your starting quarterback all this year. He threw 9 touchdowns and around 20-some interceptions. That's awful. But at the same time, you threw a second-round pick into the fire like that, and he was very, like, swapping in and out. He was the starter some weeks and not the starter some weeks, so that's going to destroy his confidence, right? That's going to destroy his confidence, and it wasn't good for him. And best case scenario, he shows improvement that he can be a starter, and the Browns don't even need to draft a quarterback. But worst case scenario, they do draft a quarterback. You also have Cody Kessler and Kevin Hogan, which don't care about either one of those. Really, the only guy worth note is Deshaun Kaiser, who could at least be a backup in my opinion. At best, he's probably one of the better backups in the league, spot starter. And at worst, obviously, he's like a bad second-string quarterback, you know, whatever. But they're not going to be getting rid of him. At running back, you have Isaiah Crowell and you have Duke Johnson mainly. Now, you have a decision to make. Are you going to run with Isaiah Crowell or are you going to run with Duke Johnson? Me, personally, I'd be running with Duke Johnson because I think he's not only a good receiving back, but he can also run the ball pretty effectively as well. And Isaiah Crowell's pretty much had his usefulness there. You know, you kind of don't need Isaiah Crowell anymore. Just send him to the free agent market, really, and roll with Duke Johnson as your guy. You know, he might have some injury concerns, maybe, but I would totally be fine with Duke Johnson. You know, I think he deserves a spot to start, and I think he wouldn't do that bad at all. Now, wide receiver here, it gets really interesting. You have Josh Gordon, and you have Corey Coleman, and after that, that's pretty much it. You don't have a lot there left. You have maybe Rashad Higgins, maybe Ricardo Lewis, but that's pretty much it. Maybe Sammy Coates, but it's not much there. But you know, you do have Josh Gordon, you do have Corey Coleman. That's a number 1 and that's a number 2 right there, pretty solidly. Corey Coleman has some injury problems, yes, but when he has played, he's shown to be pretty freaking good. You know, he's not bad under any circumstances. I think he's very good, and I think he's a very solid number 2 on a Cleveland Browns team. Now, Josh Gordon, he's a beast. He's only 26 years old, and he is a very solid number 1. And he's proven to be, he's proven he can be a top wide receiver in the league. And you need to keep Josh Gordon his entire career in Cleveland if you're that Cleveland Browns front office. You know, if you need to get him a mentor type figure to make sure he stays clean, do that. Do whatever you can to make sure that Josh Gordon can play every single game for you, because he's that good. You know, he's really, really good. So you got to make sure that you keep Josh Gordon. You got to make sure that you keep Corey Coleman. But that's a pretty decent combination. You got Duke Johnson, you got Corey Coleman, you got Josh Gordon. That's not that bad at all. At tight end, you have two pretty decent tight ends as well, and Seth DeValve and David Njoku, the former first-round pick last year. I was very impressed with David Njoku, and I was also very impressed with Seth DeValve this year. I thought that if you were to run a two tight end set, those two would be very good together. And they're only 24 and 21 respectively. They're both very young. So I think that you could work those two together if you run two tight end sets with Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman, and Duke Johnson. You know, and you're fine. You know, that's a pretty decent offense right there. You have some pretty decent weapons, and that's fine. You know, you should probably keep Seth DeValve. You should, obviously, you have David Njoku on contract. You got Josh Gordon. You got Corey Coleman still on contract, I believe. Or Josh Gordon's not on contract, I believe. You do need to re-sign him, but Duke Johnson, you still have him. So that's not a bad offensive set of weapons at all. Obviously, you can still improve on that. Get some more depth at wide receiver. Get a little bit more guys at running back. You do have Darius Jackson, who's kind of interesting. But the wide receiver depth after Josh Gordon and Corey Coleman's pretty bad. But I feel you've also got a very deep tight end set there. Offensive line, it's actually not that bad. Like, the offensive line's very good in my opinion. You have Kevin Zeitler at guard, you have Joel Bitonio at guard, and you have J.C. Treader at center. Those three, Bitonio and Zeitler, are both very good in my opinion. I think that they're both very, very solid starters, and they're probably some of the upper tier offensive guards in the league. You know, they're pretty good. You know, they're probably up there in the high 20s in terms of like rankings, guard rankings or whatever. And J.C. Treader, he's not a bad center under any circumstances. He's from, I believe, Green Bay, so more stuff coming from Green Bay. And then you have your tackles. Obviously, you have Joe Thomas, the 11-year veteran, now 12-year veteran. He's coming off of an injury, which sucks, but he's still going to be Joe Thomas. He's still going to be probably the best tackle in the league. He is probably the best tackle in the league, either him or Tyron Smith. But Joe Thomas is still going to be Joe Thomas. Right tackle, it's a little bit more interesting. You have Sean Coleman, who's your starting right tackle, but the Cleveland Browns did draft two tackles in Zach Banner and Rod Johnson. If one of those can become the replacement to Joe Thomas and be half as good as Joe Thomas is, I think you're fine. And if one of them can be at least a decently starting right tackle, then you've got yourselves a very, very better than most offensive line to protect your quarterback, to open lanes in the running game, all this kind of stuff. This offense doesn't look that bad. You just need a quarterback. I know that sounds like, oh, you just need the most important position in football, but we'll get to that. So on defense here, it's also not that bad. At defensive end, I don't know if they run a 4-3 or a 3-4. I'm pretty sure they run a 4-3 now. But you have Myles Garrett at defensive end, beast. Myles Garrett's a beast, a generational type pass rusher. He's a monster. You know, Myles Garrett's filthy. Myles Garrett's filthy, okay? Like, Myles Garrett's a cheat code, okay? I love Myles Garrett. You have Myles Garrett. That's great. At the left end, you have Emmanuel Ogbah. Not that bad. You know, I'm not like... Emmanuel Ogbah, I believe so. He's a former first-round pick. I can't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, I don't know that much about the Cleveland Browns. But Emmanuel Ogbah's not that bad. He's probably a pretty decent complement to Myles Garrett, in my opinion. So, really, you've got two very solid starting defensive ends. You've also got Carl Nassib, who... you know, and you also got Nate Orchard, which, but you know, you've got Myles Garrett, and you've got Ogbah, and you can build some depth under that relatively easy. You know, the Cleveland Browns are going to have a lot of cap space. At the defensive tackle position, you've got Larry Ogunjobi. Yes, I even practiced that before the video. So you've got Larry Ogunjobi, the rookie, who's actually been performing very well this season. You've also got Danny Shelton, and you've got Caleb Brantley. That's a pretty solid three defensive tackles right there, especially Danny Shelton and Larry Ogunjobi. You know, those two, I would start those two. I would start Danny Shelton and Larry Ogunjobi. That's not bad under any circumstances. You pair them up with Myles Garrett and Emmanuel Ogbah, that's not a bad starting 4 offensive linemen under any circumstances at all, in my opinion. So defensive line's pretty decent. You know, you can maybe get somebody to replace Emmanuel Ogbah, maybe, but I don't think you really need to. I think he's doing fine right now, and I think that defensive line's fine as well. Linebacker, too. At left outside linebacker, you have Jamie Collins, who's a freaking beast. They got him from New England, and he's still pretty freaking good. Yes, obviously, he's taken a dip in his play a little bit, but he's still Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins is a beast. You also have Christian Kirksey, who had a breakout year last year, and he signed a big contract this past offseason. You also have Joe Sherbert, who had a breakout year this year. So you've had in the past 2 years, you've had 2 linebackers break out in Christian Kirksey and Joe Sherbert. You know, you put one of them at the middle linebacker position, you put one of them at the right outside linebacker position. You have Jamie Collins at the left outside linebacker position. I wouldn't be mad at that at all, would you guys? That seems like a pretty good starting 3 to me. Obviously, you should get some depth behind them. You have Max Bullough. He's probably the most notable name behind as a backup, but not a bad linebacking core either. Obviously, yes, it could be improved. You could maybe get somebody who's better than Joe Sherbert, but not that bad either. You know, pretty decent. At cornerback, though, this is where it gets kind of not so good. You're going to need to make some improvements on this. Your best cornerback's Jason McCourty. That's the... You know, if he's good, but he's kind of old. He's 30 now, so that one's going to be rough. But after him, it's pretty bad. You have Jamar. It's not pretty bad, but it's not that good. You have Jamar Taylor, and you have Brian Body Calhoun. So really, you got to upgrade that secondary, and I feel like that's a big one for Cleveland. Is they need to upgrade. They need to upgrade their secondary because you have Howard Wilson, who you just drafted, who's not that bad. To be fair, I like Howard Wilson a good bit, but he's not enough. You need to sign some people. You need to draft some people, which we'll get to that. But it's really not the best situation. Secondary is very weak for Cleveland. At safety, your best guy is going to be Derek Kindred. I was wrong about Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers was a very failed experiment, but you have Derek Kindred there, who I think will be pretty decent. I think he's pretty decent in my opinion. But Jabril Peppers, you definitely need to get some safety help. Like the Browns need defensive backs galore because right now they don't have the best situation. And at kicker, obviously, you have Zane Gonzalez, and you have Britton Colquitt at punter, who's actually not that bad. So, I've gone 12 minutes here, going down the entire roster of the Cleveland Browns to tell you that it's not that bad, but there are improvements. The Browns have so many draft picks in this upcoming draft. I think they have 2 1s. They have the first pick and the 4th pick. That's incredible. You also have a couple of second-round picks, maybe a couple of thirds. I can't remember off the top of my head. The point is that they've got a lot of draft picks. With that first overall pick, expect them to take a quarterback. Plain and simple. Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? It's going to be Sam Darnell. Darnell? Is that his name? Sam Darnell? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that's his name. But I'm pretty sure that was the guy who they were rumored to take anyways, Sam Darnell. Or there was another quarterback. I can't remember his name. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Oh no. I'm looking it up now. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Yes, but you have quarterbacks that you can take. It's very interesting because, you know, stuff happens. Josh Rosen, that's the quarterback that I was trying to think of. You have Josh Rosen, you have Sam Darnell, like I was saying. And you have Josh Allen, you have Baker Mayfield. There's some quarterbacks here that actually aren't that bad. You could also, if you really want to be insane, you know, you take frickin' Sam Darnell with your first pick, who I don't know a lot about the quarterbacks. I would take Baker Mayfield personally, but they probably don't want to take Baker Mayfield. So you take Sam Darnell, whatever, go with the safe pick, or maybe you take Josh Rosen. I don't know, but you get your franchise quarterback with the first overall pick, and then like the 4th pick, if you took like Saquon Barkley or maybe like a Bradley Chubb, that would be insane. Okay, that would be pretty insane because you know frickin' the Giants are going to take a quarterback, okay? The Giants are probably going to take a quarterback now, and the Colts are where it gets interesting, because the Colts could probably take Bradley Chubb, or they could easily take Saquon Barkley. You don't know what they're going to do. Another name that you could take is Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like, there's a lot of good players. If you had Sam Darnell or Josh Rosen, I would probably take Josh Rosen, honestly, but if you had like a Sam Darnell or a Josh Rosen with your first overall pick, and then you had like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, a Bradley Chubb, or a Saquon Barkley with your 4th pick, that's insane. Those 2 players are automatically game changers for you. I'd probably take Minkah Fitzpatrick personally, but you know, or you know, or Saquon Barkley, maybe Saquon Barkley. But honestly, like, Cleveland's, you know, this offseason is going to be huge for Cleveland because they have all the cap space in the world, they have all the draft picks in the world, and their roster is not even that bad right now to begin with. All you got to do is get a quarterback. You might even sign A.J. McCarron to be your starter. I don't know why you would do that, honestly, but you might do that. So, honestly, the Cleveland Browns aren't that bad. Well, they are bad. They went 0-16. But next season, hey, you never know. You never know. Cleveland might have a parade not about going 0-16 next year, but about making the playoffs next year. You never know. So let me know what you guys think about Cleveland down in the comment section below. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do, especially with all those draft picks. That'd be awesome if they could get a Sam Darnold or a Josh Rosen and then a Saquon Barkley or a Bradley Chubb. That'd be filthy. Or a Minka Fitzpatrick. Like, that'd be disgusting. But let me know what you guys think about Cleveland down in the comment section below. If you're a Cleveland fan, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be making more videos about other NFL teams. I told you guys I'd be doing this for 2018. We're expanding the content, guys. But don't worry, it's going to be predominantly Bucks stuff, as we've always been doing on the channel. So hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. But until then, goodbye for now, guys.